So there is a version of your business that runs smoothly without you having to answer the phone, without you having to do any of the work, without you having to make any of the sales calls, where you have systems in place and a team in place that new customers are generated and new sales come in without you being involved in the sales process whatsoever. There is a version of your business where your customers they receive the value that they've paid for and they're happy without you having to get involved. There's a version of your business where the bookkeeping tasks are all done on time and to a high standard. All of the admin tasks and the low value tasks like managing emails and chasing down invoices and uploading receipts and all that jazz that needs to be done. There's a version of your business where that all happens without you. Maybe for some people this sounds a little bit unrealistic or impossible. Mostly it depends on your mindset, your outlook and your view of yourself and your business. So one of the big things that we work on inside of my program, which is called Delegation Bootcamp, is mindset. Because a lot of people see them as the doer of tasks, the doer of things. Nobody else can do it as good as me, and if I try to get someone else to do it, they won't do it right. All these kind of excuses, and that's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps these people stuck and trapped inside of what I call the self-employed trap. It's a big part is just working on the mindset and how you see yourself, especially for a lot of people who have spent several years acquiring a certain skill, a specialist skill, whether that's training to be an accountant, and they feel if they go out on their own and they set up their own accountancy firm that they should be the one, doing the year-end reviews for the limited companies or whatever it might be. If they're a cabinet maker, they feel like they should be the ones building the cabinets. If they're a hairdresser or a digital marketer, they feel like they should be the one cutting the hair or creating the ad campaigns. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be. There's a different skill set and a different mindset that you need to acquire to evolve from sole trader, self-employed, having a glorified job where you own the business but it depends heavily on you to rock up each day and work, to the stage where you own an asset, an entity, a business that pays you a salary, an owner's salary, regardless of whether you are there or you're not there. And you probably see it. Have a look around your industry over the next couple of days and have a look at your competitors in different towns and different locations. And have a look at the different businesses, because you will find that there are many businesses in your industry, regardless of what industry you're in, where the person who owns the company may never even be seen. They may own the company. Like, I know of people who own hairdressing salons who cannot cut hair, but they own multiple hairdressing salons. It's the same for any industry. Marketing agencies, accountancy firms, construction companies. You don't necessarily have to be skilled at providing the service. There's only so far you can grow as a one-man band. Now, we do have other people inside the program who are turning over 10-20 million a year. They've got 30-40 staff, but the business still depends on them. While they're not on the tools as such, they're still having to make key decisions. They're still having to have multiple meetings per day and per week, and they're heavily tied to the business, and that's because their business lacks structure, it lacks proper systems, and while they have a team in place, they don't have the right strategy for managing that team. They may not have the right systems in place to actually hold certain departments and members of their staff accountable. And it all just comes down to systems and delegation. Okay, systems and processes. Like, start with the basics, regardless of whether you're a one-man band or you have a small business turning over 6-7 figures a year, or you have a slightly bigger business where you have staff in place but you're still having to micromanage, you're still responsible for making a lot of decisions. Start out by making sure you've got the right structures in place. Do you have a company organizational chart? Do you have an SOP in place for each role within the business? Do you have KPIs set out for each department or each team member? Do you have a system in place for monitoring and tracking and reviewing the performance of each department and each team member? And that's where a lot of people fall short, is they might get to the stage where they put the company org chart in place and they put some SOPs in place and they set KPIs, and they might spend a week or two doing that, and then it's never looked at again. They lose the files. Okay, so we show you how to store it and how to use it, but also how to make sure that it's tracked and reviewed every week. There's easy ways of doing it and there's difficult ways of doing it. It's like anything, and a lot of the information out there with regards to systemizing a business and automating your business can seem very, very complicated. there's so many different softwares and technologies, and there's a lot of people trying to push these technologies on you and push the fact that this is a very complicated thing to do, and you know what I mean, it's not. Trust me. I like things to be simple. For me, this is a problem that I had in my business when I started out, because when I started out my first business, which is called SPM Online Advertising, I was a one-man band. Eventually I grew it up to a stage where I had 5 staff, but it was still heavily dependent on me. I had to sit down and put together this framework. Ultimately it's the framework that we use inside of Delegation Bootcamp, but I had to put this together and figure it out and take a lot of different courses and hire a lot of different people and make a lot of different mistakes to eventually get the business to a stage where I was not responsible for doing any of the day-to-day work. Once that point came around, I moved the company from Ireland over here to Dubai. I was able to set up a lot of different companies. I set up Coolstown Capital, which is a private equity firm where we acquire established companies from other business owners who are looking to retire and stuff like that. I've set up multiple consulting companies such as Delegation Bootcamp, where I help other business owners do what I was able to do, which is put structure to their business, put proper systems in place and put a team in place, and then remove themselves from the business, because the reality is you are the biggest bottleneck within your business. And as well as that, you know, if your business is too heavily dependent on you, it causes all sorts of problems. If you want to retire or exit your business at any time down the line, you're not going to be able to sell it, and if you do, you're not going to get very much for it, because any business that's too heavily dependent on its owner is not worth very much. Simple as that. So if you come to the point where you want to sell your business, whether that's for retirement reasons or whatever it might be, if you have systems in place and a team in place and the business is not dependent on you, meaning that if you step away from the business completely for 90 days or whatever it is, the business is not affected. New customers still come in. The customers that do come in are still served and they're happy. The bookkeeping is looked after, the admin is looked after, okay? Systems and teams, simple as that. But as well as that, maybe you're younger, maybe you're in your 20s or 30s, 40s, whatever it is, you're not considering retirement. But by building your business in this way, it's going to give you a lot of freedom and security in the form of, if you were to get sick or get injured right now with your business in its current state, and you physically could not work in your business, let's say for the next 6 months, what would happen to your business? And the answer is usually the same: it would fall apart, because you're not there to answer the phone, to meet with clients, to cut the hair, you know, to build the roof if you're a construction company, whatever it is. So one of the first things we do with everyone that comes into the bootcamp, Delegation Bootcamp, is sit down and do your time and responsibility assessment exercise. And it just shows us where you're spending your time and energy each week, basically. We categorize them into different departments, and then we start building a team. But before we do that, we have to put a structure in place. And with that, we follow what we call the IDAT method. And I won't dive into that too much. I'll put another video together on that. But first of all, identify the pressure points or the bottlenecks. So if you're spending 30 hours a week on the tools, and again, by on the tools, if you're a construction company, you could be pouring concrete. If you're a makeup artist, you're putting makeup on. So identify the bottlenecks. What's taking up the most of your time? What's causing you the most amount of stress and pressure? Okay. Next to that, we want to document the process. So a basic SOP is how you can document anything. So open up your Google Sheets, create an SOP file for the role that you're trying to document, or the task or the responsibility that you want to document. Basically whatever information is necessary. You might be an accountancy firm and you want to document the process of how to onboard a new customer. So you might need login details and passwords to X, Y, and Z softwares that you use, so Xero.com or whatever it is that you use. List that in the document, and then you'll have the steps. So step 1, open Xero.com. Step 2, create a new client account. Step 3, get the client's details, card details, whatever you need, step-by-step format. So creating an SOP is not rocket science. For some reason, people are quite allergic to it, and they think that all of this jazz is very complicated. I can assure you that it is not complicated. It's only complicated if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have a framework to follow, and you don't have the support in place. That's what I provide inside of the Delegation Bootcamp. Look guys, that's probably long enough for this video for today. If you are a business owner and you want to be able to put structure, systems, teams in place to build a business that can run without you, make sure to check out delegationbootcamp.com. And if you have any questions on anything specific that you'd like me to cover here on the channel, make sure to pop a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.